I'll be covering my portfolio today, specifically the gold and silver miners I hold. Haven't done it in a while. Been looking forward to doing it. I obviously hold other stocks in my portfolio, but I will not be covering them because it's just there's such alternatives to gold and silver that, I mean, they're probably for a different audience. So I will do those hopefully tomorrow. Anyway, for the gold and silver miners, before I look at those, I'll be looking at the dollar and interest rates, and then obviously gold, silver, and the miners before quickly jumping to each gold and silver stock that I hold, because let's be honest, the dollar, interest rates, I mean, they all affect, the miners, gold and silver ultimately. What I will not cover are the markets. I've already covered them, but also the markets tend to, well, they can move up and down with the miners or in opposite direction. I mean, when the banking crisis broke out, we saw gold and silver shoot up, acting inversely. So you can't really count on the markets at the moment. For example, they seem to be moving together, but I personally think interest rates will go up, start a banking crisis, and who knows, you could have gold and silver move back up inversely to the banks and the general markets. So let's start with the dollar. The dollar is looking quite weak. Let's be honest. It's moving down here. I mean, that Friday really changed all the dynamics for me. I mean, we hit 102. I remember thinking, okay, we're going to get to 102. It was sort of the high of this choppy range. And it looked like it was going to be weak. Then I thought, no, it's gonna hold 102 and creep up. It did that, and then bam, for me, it's weak. I mean, you have interest rates going up, and the dollar basically not going up. So if it doesn't go up with interest rates, and it used to, and it should, then it kind of suggests it wants to go low because interest rates want to go higher. Now, technically, it hasn't broken down yet, but I think that it's going to test 102. And if it starts to close below 102, we're going to visit the absolute lows. By that, I mean 101 or just below 100.8. We'll probably bounce from there back to 102. Prior support will act as resistance. And then we might flush 101. And then move low. I mean, I think we'll have a pit stop here at 100 because it's a nice psychological number plus a bit of a tiny support there. But ultimately go and chill at 97.5. And, where will gold be when that happens? Probably in the 2000s. So, and what will the miners be doing? Going up. Obviously, the miners have been underperforming the metal, but still they'll be going up. So this is a very important indicator to watch. I think it's not yet confirmed, but pretty bearish stuff. But look, if it does rally back up, you've got quite a lot of coalescing technical breakout points. So you've got to watch out. You got to watch out. You got to assume you could be wrong. But that's my take on the dollar. It should assist the miners, and I think it will actually go down. For now, that's my take. Let's look at interest rates very quickly. Like I said, and it's more the 2-year. The 1 year just sort of goes up non-stop, has a few sideways days, but goes up. The 2 year is the most important one, the 2 and the 10. I've covered this already, but look at this move. It's just, you got to forgive its move back down here. It's got to retrace now and then, but that's basically a staircase move back up. The last 2 days we had some news, so you can you can excuse this sort of wacky candle, but overall just sideways up. And I think we got to 5%, 5.1% very quickly. Look at the 5-year, crazy stuff, very strong. 10-year, possibly the most watched one, the one that affects the economy the most, housing stocks, etc. Car loans. I mean, this is really the economy, but the 2 years, the Fed, and basically it's going up. So yields going up, that should put pressure on the markets. Again, will the markets hinder or help gold stocks, or is it more the banking stocks you need to pay attention to? That's something I've been just repeating almost every video. Interest rates, and specifically their effect on banking stocks, small caps. Actually, you can see the effect in the small caps, and also the dollar, which should go up with interest rates, but it's not. So okay, with that said, let's look at gold and silver. Gold and silver, to be honest, I think they've been weak for a while, but now they're starting to show a bit of strength around 1900. Obviously, we had the dollar down, so that helped gold and silver, and I'm starting to see a bit of a breakout potential here. I think if we close above, let's say 1935, but in particular 1940, we're going to run up to 1970. Is that going to coincide with the dollar closing below 102, or maybe the market's moving down, gold's going up? Let's see what else is going on. But gold seems to be doing quite well in the 1900s. Now, if the dollar picks up, we could start to test 1900, and at that point it will look probably quite weak. It'll flush 1900, you know, does it rebound again and create a bit of a hammer and sort of close above 1900? On the way down, I have these support zones. If we do close, you know, in below 1893, we should just flush lower. We might even go extra low, 1860. It'd be interesting to see what the miners are doing back then, because when, you know, once the metals are oversold, you could have some days where the miners are not red, slightly green, or, you know, red by 0.5%, despite gold being down 1-2%. That will indicate strength in the miners and probably an opportunity to buy. I've nibbled once in this entire drop. I nibbled around here, I believe, so I'm quite happy. I hold a decent amount. My miners are at medium holding, so if it goes lower, they might become light automatically as they lose value, at which point I'll add. If they start to move up, they'll get quite heavy again, because they were heavy. I was quite heavy. And then I might sell what I just nibbled down here, and then hopefully it's just medium again, and we'll see. You know, that's just been my strategy. I have light, medium, or heavy holdings, and I just trade around the position. But my long-term thesis is up, you know, up. Silver, very similar to gold, actually a bit stronger than gold, you could say. Look at the higher lows it's been putting in. Also been testing its version of 1940. I would say it's around here. So, and look at the breakout, this descending. I mean, that's quite close. So, you know, once we have a close, let's say above 23.3, just above this descending, also coinciding with the high of this tail, we could start to move back up to 24, and then it looks very good again. So gold will probably be at 1940 by then. So, you know, gold and silver, obviously they can go lower. It depends on the dollar, interest rates in the markets. But I'm seeing a bit of potential for the dollar going back down to 101. I see interest rates going up and the dollar not climbing with it, which is pretty bullish. It could take down the markets, which last time was pretty bullish for gold and silver as it affects banking stocks. But also technically, you see, you know, gold and silver doing quite well. Let's look at the miners, GDX GDXJ, underperforming the metal, nowhere near as high. You know, you expect it around 30. You expect GDX around 30, given what gold and silver are doing, especially silver. But it's pretty low, you know, still not buying into the low in gold and then the potential for a move back up. Maybe it's taking some weakness from the markets and pricing that in. So it'd be very interesting to see how the miners react to market dropping. And I think we're going to see that with interest rates climbing. GDXJ, very similar. You know, that bounced off one support zone I had. I mean, I'm drawing so many that I'm bound to get it right. But GDXJ really did nail it there. You can see why. GDX, I had the same equivalent. It just bounced a little higher. That's the way it works. I'm keeping it quite simple, just horizontal on key levels. One descending, my favorite is the descending breakout with just horizontal. I think these are all correct. This one might not be perfect, but otherwise I think all the others are correct. But the great takeaway is just that the miners are underperforming the metal, but still, if we have a breakout because of the dollar dropping, or maybe the market going down and that helping gold and silver and therefore the miners because interest rates are going up and taking down banks. Either way, there's potential for a move up, but you've got to recognize the potential for a move down. With all that said, let's check out the portfolio. Newmont, my heaviest holding still. Well, I'm not going to recap where I bought and sold. I've done a lot of that. It's my heaviest holding. You know, you can see where I think the support and resistance is with the descending, very similar to the GDX, you could say, which makes sense. But, you know, I'm looking for a bit of a close at 44, should indicate a massive move high, or massive 48, let's say, should get to about here. I can say that. You know, let's see what's happening in the markets, but I see a bit of a move over here, and then resistance back down, and let's see what happens. On the downside, yeah, I think it could go back down to here, and then let's see what happens. But well, it would really be like this. But you know, you've got this descending line also in place, so it's always quite close to a breakout too. So I like it. I'm not adding. It's middle of the range. It's already my heaviest holding, so I'm happy holding Newmont. Agnico-Eagle, probably my favorite. I don't know. Newmont, Agnico, and Barrick Gold are possibly my favorites. You can't really go wrong buying them, even on the drop. They're defensive, senior, good dividends. I mean, it's my favorite to buy. I've never really regretted buying. This one is I mean, look at that. That's kind of close at low of day, even though it's green. So pretty weak. So if you have any move down in gold, silver, the miners, Agnico should be flushing 48. and looking weak, and maybe you can buy some at 45. So might not get there, probably get to 47 first. But Agnico-Eagle, not that bullish, but no problem. It's a very good stock. So, but again, you've got the descending line to play on the breakout. Barrick Gold, not really an obvious descending line there. You can see also low of day, not very strong. You've got this ascending line that I've noticed. So you could have a bit of support around 16. You should. And to be honest, if it flushes that, you've got just below 1580, could be a bit of a sort of a fake breakdown buy zone. So Barrick should have quite a lot of support just underneath, just if it does flush. But on the way up, I've just got these horizontals. So no problem with Barrick. Like I said, these three are elite, the best seniors, I reckon. Wheaton, very, very similar. It's a bit of a royalty one, isn't it? This one tends to survive quite well. Hasn't come down too much, especially compared to the other ones I want to get to. I noticed this ascending, and to be honest, the ascending is just coinciding with the low from Thursday. So, but look, pretty weak. Look at these two candles, Wednesday, Thursday, just took us to new lows. So although we're at support, it's weak given it's basically hit new lows. Compare it to Barrick Gold. Look at that. Look at Agnico. Okay, Agnico is quite weak, but Newmont. So compared to those, Wheaton is not doing that well. But look, it's got that ascending, so no problem. Wheaton, just like these three, I've got a nice medium holding on these, so I'm in no rush to buy. I think there are more aggressive underpriced stocks to buy if you're looking for some aggressive upside. So just holding what I have. If we flush, I think next support is really 38.50. So I'll be looking to that. Pan American Silver, I think, is a very good buy. It acquired Yamana. Maybe I forgot to add a bit of a descending here. But well, I got this one. Look at that. That's very long-term stuff. So even though we've sort of gone below, it's roughly holding that zone. You can forgive, maybe my drawing isn't perfect, and to be honest, it's so long-term that you can forgive that being off a bit. Look at that. I could just change it, like, well, whatever. So it's holding this very, very important long-term strategic line. If it flushes, I think the low of down here, which is the bear market low, should be good. Otherwise, you've got the COVID low down here. I'm not going to draw that yet, but Pan America is a very good company, I think. So I consider it a senior silver, and it did some good acquisitions. So I'm not that scared of it being all the way down here. I did buy recently, so it's back to medium holding. Goldfield. Now, this one I sold a lot on the way up, and I never bought on the way down. And now it's worth very little. So actually, this is for me, and I said this in the portfolio videos I did a while ago, there are better buys. Why would I buy this all the way up here? It's a very good stock, obviously, which is reflected in this move up, but it has to come down more. Even if it comes all the way down here, there is still better. This will probably bounce quite well, but I'm not going to buy it. It's at a support zone. Look at this. Totally makes sense. Resistance, resistance, resistance. Bam, broke out, and then look, it's come all the way down here. So this is probably a very good bounce play. Even now, it wants to go up, but the upside is very limited, 10, 20%. Sometimes I look at that, like going all the way, look, 30% sounds good, but you could do that on one of these better senior stocks. Or you can do that in, I haven't got here yet, but look, first Majestic, if there's a move up, look at that, just to take us back here, let alone the highs. Obviously, that's not how it works. But the point is, gold feels just the upside versus the downside. Wasn't really worth it all this time. Now, maybe I could nibble, but it's a very good stock. It's just not worth it. So for me, the way I'm going to trade it is if there's a surprise bounce and I think the miners are going to go back down, I'll sell Goldfields. I'll liquidate the position. I'm very happy with my selling. It's not worth very much, but if we go back up, you can see what I think resistance is, 14.5. If we surprise and it keeps rallying 16, I'll just close the whole thing. And if it keeps going up, well, that means the other miners are going up and I'll sell some of those. But for me, Goldfields is one to sell on the way up. There's just not that much upside compared to others. Mag Silver, been one of the worst performers. Definitely not something you want to sell now. But I don't want to buy it yet either, because I'm very accustomed to these miners. What doesn't go up, I mean, just because it's crushed doesn't mean it's the best buy. Goldfields will go up more than it, I'm sure. But so will Agnico-Eagle, Barrick Gold, and any of these silver miners. So this one is one I'm going to liquidate on the way up. It's not a heavy holding. I never had it too heavy, and I was trimming on every pop, and now with lower, basically, if it goes back up, I see at the moment 12.5. I'll probably sell half the position. If it breaks out in a surprise move and everything's going up, maybe I liquidate it. I don't know. We'll see wherever I think it's going to reverse. But the point is, I would sell half now on a surprise big move up, and then I'd liquidate the rest. So Goldfields and Mag are in my portfolio. I've got a little, red banner next to them saying liquidate on a surprise move up. Gran Colombia, this one is a good one. Very good dividend. Sorry, it used to be Gran Colombia. Now it's Aris Mining. Very good dividends. I think it's 5% actually. Not the safest stock, but I still think it's good. The balance sheet is good. They sorted it out. I mean, it's got a bad history. Look at that. But 5% dividends, pretty low. You can see it's near support. It can go lower. It's risky, but I've added to it. It's now a medium holding, worth the same as these top boys. So I'm putting quite a bit into it. And on the way up, I see, immediate resistance, 2.5. I think we're going to go all the way up to 3. If this moves up, it's going to move up. I think it's a good story. So I'm happy putting in quite a bit. If it moves lower, it goes to 2. And after that, we'll see something's either very wrong with the company or the sector. So I'll have to judge when we get there. Fortuna, now I've hit the silver. Fortuna, Coeur d'Alene, EXK, AG, and Discovery. These are my 5 aggressive silver stocks. You can see we're at support zone. This has not come down more than the other stocks, including even some senior stocks. So Fortuna is doing well. I have some reservations about jurisdiction. A lot of these silver stocks are based in Mexico. There's a lot of scary laws. I don't know too much about it. I think established mines, it doesn't count. It's more about new mines. But, I recognize that this can go lower for sure. But I used to be worth as much as the seniors. Now I've made sure that these aggressive silvers are worth 3/4 of the seniors, so not as much. And if it goes up, and I would like that, there's this descending, we break out, I don't know, we'll see, maybe 3.6, definitely all the way up here at 4. I'll be trimming and making sure it's always worth 3/4 of the seniors. I've got a certain set amount that I want them to be worth, and I just don't want it to be too aggressive like last time, because it's just unnecessary. I don't need it to be too aggressive in the little silvers. As long as my thesis is correct, I make enough in the seniors, the dividends is good, and I keep good liquidity on the side. So I just recalibrated a little bit the silver stocks. They're not worth as much as the seniors. They used to be worth the same, but now not the case. And to be honest, I'm happy, because if we flush, I wouldn't want it to be worth as much as these seniors. So I recognize the downside, 2.6. On the upside, it will be the descending breakout. So right now, 3.33. That's the immediate resistance. I think if we have a move, we're going to break out of that anyway. And then, yeah, let's see, 3.7-ish. But ultimately, 4 is resistance. 4, and then obviously 420, just below 420. Coeur d'Alene, this one I've really had a lot of faith in. It's very good on the way up, but very weak too on the way down. It's a risky one. Thankfully, I've also reduced my exposure here. I was able to trim. I didn't like doing it, but on every resistance, I was able to trim. Now it's worth also 3/4 of the seniors. But look, this one's demolished. If we have a move up in silver, this one should really run quick, like 5% in minutes, and then 10%. Last time I said that, it really ran. Look at this move. So I'm looking for basically a move to $3 should confirm the move up. I mean, any close above 2.94 should confirm a move up to 3.3 straight away, then 3.6, and then ultimately 4, even higher. So this is the best one to play on a aggressive silver move up. But look, I'm close to my support zone down here, 2.5-ish, just above. And after that, we have some very long-term support. So I would buy this there. I would make sure it's worth the same value, the set value that it's currently worth. EXK, very similar. You can see how they're similar, and you can see how Fortuna is outperforming. EXK, good mining stock. Again, silver jurisdiction issues maybe, but very strong on the way up. We need a close above 3. Next resistance would be 3.33-ish. I might as well draw this in. It's pretty obvious stuff. Horizontal. I've got no descending breakout, but all the other stocks do, including the GDX. Could I put a descending? No. Yeah, close above 3. run to 330. After that, basically up here, 3.79 just to make sure. And it should go right through 4 actually, and straight to 4.2. Anyway, I'll draw those precise those trend lines when we get there. But at the moment, that's what I see. But look, very weak, very weak. So if you have gold and silver retrace, the dollar just making a bit of a move back up, watch out. You could have the XK back at 2.5. I'll probably add there because that's how you make money. You got to buy when it looks bad, and you got to believe in your thesis. And I think EXK is quite a good stock, but that's why I spread it out in case I'm wrong. AG, first Majestic. Look at this long-term, 2 long-term ascendings. So we're at support. I've already bought it here. I trimmed it. I've traded this one a lot. I'm very happy with how much it's worth. They're all worth the same. Fortuna, Couer, EXK, AG, and Discovery. Discovery was worth a bit too much, but it went down and naturally became worth less. I'll get to that in a second, but AG, I think, is due for a bit of a breakout, actually. So any move up in the silver and the miners, this should start to run. I guess, I mean, you got this descending, but $6 should be a nice psychological level to close above. So I'll consider that resistance, not the most obvious resistance. After that, maybe just 7, straight away, just psychologically. And you got this long-term descending coming into play too. So lots of long-term ascending and descending trend lines here, but first Majestic is very well established and a very good stock to play on a move up, especially for silver. Discovery, this one, there was a bit of a rebalance shock over here. There's quite a few of them actually. Just got sold out because there was a rebalance in the GDXJ or SILJ, the silver ETFs. And I didn't buy this. Oh my God, I didn't buy it. I just held. I was losing. It was worth a decent amount. I got pretty aggressive in this one. I think I sold once maybe, but bought back a little more recently. And I just held, and it was worth, let's say, I mean, just be honest, the seniors are worth basically 4K as a medium holding, So when I was saying the seniors are worth 3/4, it's $3K. The Discovery's worth 5. I went pretty aggressive, and now it's worth 3 point something, maybe 3.5 now. But look, I don't really care. If it starts to break out of this, it's going to move back up and then hit this descending. And to be honest, when it's here again, it's probably going to be worth, let's see. Yeah, look at that, 30%. It was 30% at 3.5K. Well, it's going to be worth 1. Yeah, it's going to be worth its 5K again, pretty much. So I have no problem. I think if there's a move up, it goes straight to 80 and ultimately it will go to 1. And I'll make a lot of money. So no problem holding this one. I do believe in this one. It's not just some random stock. It's a very good one. Obviously financing juniors, silver, very risky stuff, but I'm happy holding this one. If it goes back down here, I might nibble a little bit because, look at this horizontal here. It was breakout from a long time ago. So I just think at some point, a stock technically has found its bottom, regardless of what the sector does. So yeah, but look, I spread it out. That's Discovery. Now I'm looking at the very, very small juniors. You can ignore these. I have very little in this. These ones are worth 4K. Actually, MAG and GFI, they're worth sort of 2-ish or something, but the others are worth 3. But here they're worth 1 max. Because they lost so much value and because I've sold the pops, because I've decided a long time ago I don't like juniors. I don't need to play juniors. My account is big enough to not require a lottery ticket junior to make good money. If I'm right about this sector in the next 2 years, I'm good. I don't need to trade these too much. But and also it's very hard to trade technically. Look at this. It's does this even make sense? I think it's a good stock. It's very hard to follow this stock, Trillium. But look, if there's a move up, it should squeeze. It can move 50% very quickly, even 100%. If it does, I want to make sure that it's always worth 1K. Really, I don't care. I mean, it could be worth a lot more on a squeeze, but I'll try and make sure I keep the emotion in check and just trade it robotically and make sure it's always worth 1K. So might have multiple sells on the way up. If it goes to 0, it goes to 0. I'm good with that. Turmalina, this one is very similar, but it has more of a recent history of popping. So I guess I actually sold this move up very well, made good money, very good money on this one. I bought back half of what I sold here. If it goes down, I'm cool with that. I think we go back up. If we do go back up, by the way, I'm selling just under 28. I think actually just under 27, just in case. And honestly, if it goes any higher, it starts to break out of this, and we could have some crazy move. And I think I'm all out at 45 or 43.89, something like that. And if it goes all the way up, well done everyone else for holding. I made a lot of money, and I'm happy with that. If it goes down, it goes to zero, whatever. Reyna, same thing. If it goes down, it goes to zero, whatever. It's a silver, very small, owned by a Mexican guy in Mexico. Here, it's quite hard to tell which descending is really the one in play. I just think we've got no, I suppose we do have this horizontal, but otherwise, I'm just looking for descending breakout. You've got to be a bit more precise. Maybe you could say this one here. But look, I'm just selling in machine guns. It goes up, I sell here, it goes higher, I sell there, it goes there, sell there, and I think I'm all out. I don't know, probably 30, maximum 35, I can imagine. If I check my broker, I'm sure that's what it is. I'm not looking for some ridiculous, I've matured in that respect. USAU, this is one I bought when the stocks were breaking out, and I just chased the most destroyed ones. In the end, that was a good move because this one held its, I was really buying the lows. I'm talking absolute low falls, and I've traded it very well. I'm in the money on this one already, and I think I'm all out or almost all out. If it goes to 479 is my sell. I've got to sell at 447 in case it does move here. It looks like it's going to do it actually. 447, a third out, 479 the rest, and if it starts to squeeze, I just dump the last one wherever I think it's going to top out. This one good. I mean, got lucky. I chased it when everything else was looking like it's going to break out a few weeks ago, months ago even, and it never really went lower, and I've traded it well, and now it's just one I'm going to sell if I think the sector flushes. I'll get out in money and then just hold the cash on the sidelines to go into probably a senior. Another one, these actually, all the ones from USAU down, these four are all ones that I chased. GoGold, good stock, chased it. I'm underwater, very little amount, but no problem. You know, if it flushes, let's see, I haven't even drawn the trend lines, but if it flushes $1, then, you know, I've seen these flushes of $1. It could really accelerate down. So I'll just put this in for now. Didn't really think about it, but it could very easily get down to low 70s, and I think it's a great buy. You know, you double up, or maybe you put in, let's say I've got 1K in this, I'd put in, and it's probably worth what 700 by the time it gets here. I'll put like 1.5K in, so double what it's worth. Then it's worth 2K down here. It moves back up here. I've made a lot of money out. At $1 bounce, testing resistance, price support, I've made a lot of money out. Love that. So no problem with that going down. A very good stock. K92, another very good stock, which is just very weak. And look at that, it's losing its support here. If it goes lower, very similar, it goes lower by quite a bit. So definitely a candidate to buy back, just like I said with GoGold. I'll be looking for 4.5, maybe 4.51. Make sure I get it. Don't want to get greedy and miss it, and then it bounces back to 5.5. And I do the same thing. I buy a decent amount, at least what I hold, maybe a bit more, bounces all out in profit. Finally, Silver Tiger. This is I know nothing about it. I just heard good things, and I chased it because it was very low whilst the sector was looking to break out. Now it's gone down. This day here, I had no sells in. Rookie mistake. I think I could have gotten a sell, but you know, look, it's trading at absolute lows. If the sector goes lower, I think it's going to go to 14. I'll buy a little bit more, but I don't like these micro silver. I don't want to make another one of, you know, these guys that I hold and I don't really believe in. I mean, these other three, K92, GoGold, even USAU, because it's performed very well. I don't mind holding them because of the performance, and they're well known, at least more. So this one, I'm not looking to buy as much as the others, let's say, if it does flush. Anyway, that's it. That's my plan. You know, I tend to buy a few if it drops, but I'm looking at the dollar, I'm looking at interest rates. Obviously, I'm looking at the market, gold, silver, and the miners. And every individual miner has its own support and resistance. So I'm watching all of them. I have a lot of stocks in my portfolio, and I'm starting to feel like my focus is spread out a bit too much. And he who defends everywhere is weak everywhere. At the moment, I'll be honest, I know all the stocks very well. I have automatic buys and sells pretty much in all of them. I keep a nice Excel. So in my Excel, I know what I'm going to buy where, just in case the good till cancel order isn't already put in. So for now, I can manage it, not just the miners, but also the alternatives. But I'm not going to add any more. And I hope to liquidate some of them, whether I'm in profit or not. I don't care. That's not how I trade anymore. So whether we go up or down, especially up, I look to reduce this, and I really want just the best. And I really want the seniors to be worth more at all times than the juniors. And I want to eliminate all the juniors. So in the end, I'll have sort of, Newmont, Agnico, Barrick, Wheaton, Pan America. These two I'm going to liquidate. I told you that. Aris Mining, and then maybe 5, maybe I'll add another one, 6 silver, and that's it. And they'll be worth more, because if I liquidate these, I have more money to spend. So anyway, it's a work in progress. I hope you found that useful. I would, if I was watching someone go through their gold and silver mining portfolio in that kind of detail. So I hope you also find that useful. Anyway, happy weekend.